Hello, friends. We are back with one more replay analysis before we get back into the usual guides. Promise those are on the way, spending a bit more time on the polling video. But anyways, we're going to take a look at Shadow Shaman here, Voltaic. If I recall, you asked some questions about Crystal Maiden on Reddit, and that you recently made it to Crusader, and you're looking to keep improving, which I think is a great goal. In your comment, you mentioned you were feeling a little awkward about your movement in the laning stage, at least in this game. Like the coordination with your Ursa wasn't the best, which, I don't blame you for that. It's a pub game. You'll always have some issues coordinating with your teammates, but we'll see what we can address for that. And then you also felt that when you were watching your replay, I guess maybe you noticed some mistakes because you felt embarrassed about it. But I think that's actually a good thing because it's usually hardest to see our own mistakes. So if you can do that, then that's a great place to uh, start improving. So we're only going to do this one game today so we can spend a bit more time going through the full process. So we're going to start with the draft again. We got our first pick, Shadow Shaman. That's fine. Followed by a Tidehunter, which is pretty weird. Obviously, because we're looking at a replay, we know where it's going to go. But if you were just loading into the draft, a first pick Tidehunter is pretty weird. I suppose maybe at this rank, these kind of picks are more common. Humble brag, I'm not fully sure. It's been a while since I've played in those. But I do think from the times I've seen replays, you're much more likely to see weird picks like this that come out first. So the fact that it's a first pick makes me think that it's likely to be a support, but you could have someone who just likes Tidehunter offlane like so much. So it's hard to say right off the bat. But we'll just skip it for now. We got Dazzle. We got Spirit Breaker. Followed by Wraith King. Now, this is your team, so you know Wraith King is going to be the offlaner, which is unconventional at this time, but not too weird. And then Sniper. So this is very weird because there's not really a traditional 5 in here. Spirit Breaker is maybe the most traditional 5, but he's weird even at that. You've got Ursa Tinker on your team, and Bloodseeker Quap. This is a really confusing lineup, which makes it really hard for you to itemize at the start of the game. Let's just open it up here. Oops. Let's go to your perspective. Where are you? Here you are. Let's see what you picked. Tango's South. I think that's a good start. I don't think you actually need a sentry this lane. Because let's think about your lane. Shadow Shaman and Ursa. That's a very strong combination because say you take Shackles level 1, that's 2.75 seconds. And this guy, do free cam, that make it easier. This guy, I know he doesn't do it, but he's supposed to take Fury Swipes level 1 to, start building up some stacks in early trading, and then you shackle them so that when he has, usually what happens is people don't mind trading with Ursa for the first couple hits. And then after that, say 3 hits, they get scared because it's like, okay, Fury Swipes is starting to build up. This is getting a lot of damage. And then that's when you shackle them, and he's able to get off 3 more auto attacks, which really start to do some damage and potentially get a kill, or at least set them up to die the next time you do that. So you're a really strong lane. Sorry, I forgot what I was going for. So that combination makes Shadow Shaman and Ursa particularly strong. So I would define you guys as a very strong lane in most matchups. And against most of these guys, I would say you are still a strong matchup. Queen of Pain, if she was the offlaner, would prove to be pretty annoying. Her Shadow Strike dagger is very good against Ursa. It would slow him a lot. Although, granted, the new Urshock would help him catch up a bit if you, say, Hex shackled her so that he could catch up and then start hitting her. But besides that, Tidehunter, Spirit Breaker, Bloodseeker, all these melee heroes are very weak to you guys. And Sniper is annoying, but he's very fragile, which means if you guys ever get on top of him, I think he'll die. So because of that, I don't really feel like you need a sentry. So I might sell this sentry and buy a Mango instead, because Shadow Shaman spells are very expensive to use. And generally, when you're trying to get a kill, you're going to need to use multiple spells. So I would like having one Mango so that you can be prepared to use all your spells when you need to, at that moment. And with your base mana pool, 303, I know you'll start with just one spell, but like, say you get Shackles, that's 140, which means you can only use Shackles one more time, because you just don't have enough mana to use another one. And so what if you hit level 2, like say you use Shackles, you'll regenerate some mana, but then let's say you wanted to get Hex level 2. Like, you can't even use Hex and Shackles. You probably will be able to use it once, but then after that, are you just done in the lating stage? It's a little rough. So I think having at least one mango is nice. Left the lane, or left the fountain very early. I like that. And then for the Sage's Mask, I think that's okay to rush. Ursa's a hero that really likes having mana, and it doesn't hurt to have a Bassi on Shadow Shaman, so I'm fine with that. I like that you're checking all your teammates' items. Nothing really going on right now. Tinker's a little bit AFK. Oh, I will say about the ward, I don't think you guys have to have it. Like, if Tinker didn't take it, then that's Tinker's problem, and it's like, okay, you have it. But I might give him the ward so that he has it, because I just feel like you guys don't necessarily need to have it, because you're such a strong lane. Then again, it is kind of nice to have it because you're such a strong lane, so you can see them trying to hide and you can get them, or that you can use this ward to scout the side lanes, because like we said, this is a very ambiguous draft. It's not clear where everyone's going. So planting the ward, say right here, might be okay. So let's say you put the ward here. It would give you vision over here, so if someone peeks their head out, you might spot them, and that could help you see the lane. Alternatively, if you want to risk it, you could walk up to here and place it on this high ground. This would be very good for scouting, because many times people will stand in this area where you may not usually be able to see from over here, but putting the ward here would let you scout who's going to be in the lane, and in fact would let you see, let's say, Bloodseeker, wherever he is, standing right here. You also don't strictly need the vision over here, because like we said, you're a very strong lane, so I wouldn't mind if you put it up here. And then in this game in particular, it's very helpful versus Spirit Breaker to have this kind of ward, to say he dies and he charges to your bottom lane. You'll see him like when he starts getting in this area, which is, it gives you a lot of time to react, right? As opposed to, say you had the ward here, in which case you only see him when he's approaching here. And that is kind of a significant difference. That's like an extra 2 or 3 seconds, I would say, at an early level of charge without boots and all that. So like if you're laning here and you see him pop up here, that would give you time to start backing away. Whereas if you only see him here when you're up here, like you're going to get to like around here when he hits you, which is still quite, not too bad, but that extra few seconds can be the difference sometimes. Go back to you. What are you going to do? If you have the ward, I feel like it should probably be placed. Don't hold it too long. I like to get it down pretty quickly. I think here would have been okay. That way you don't have to walk out too far, because it is a little scary to walk out against a Spirit Breaker. So who do we see top? We see Sniper top. So if Sniper's top, it's unlikely he's the 5. And in fact, this would have been a great time to click him while it's paused, so you could check his items and see these are carry items. So you know he's the carry now, which means it is likely to be Bloodseeker or Queen of Pain in your lane. And not to be like a Sniper 4. So it's probably, in that case, I would say it's probably Queen of Pain 4 or Tide 4. I mean, granted, you could just keep playing the game for like a couple more seconds and then you'll see the lanes. But I'm always thinking about who's going to be in my lane. Because like Ursa right now should be very near you. I don't like where Ursa's positioned right now. This isn't your fault. But potentially you might be able to ask him like, hey, come stand up here with me. So that if, say, Bloodseeker were to run down here, you could just start attacking him and shackle him, and then this guy would hit him. That's kind of what coordinating in pubs comes down to be, is that the higher level you go, the more people will just know to do this stuff on their own, and you don't need to talk as much, but it's still helpful to. And then after that, when it's still like lower, on lower level games, just saying stuff preemptively is a great way to get yourselves on the right page, to say like, hey, let's stand here and go on whoever shows up, or I'm gonna go walk in and shackle him, can you run at him and we'll fight. Stuff like that. So I think it's very weird that he took Earthshock. Sorry. It's really weird he took Earthshock, and this kind of removes all ability to fight in the early game. Because this guy just does not do damage. Like, see with Anchor Smash on him, he does 32 damage, and that's not even accounting for the armor of these guys or the fact that they're going to damage block. So all his ability to trade was in Fury Swipes, and the fact that he didn't take it really hurts your ability to do anything in the early game. So how can we adjust from there? If you know, like this is the case where he has taken Earthshock instead of Fury Swipes, you need to know, okay, we can't actually do anything until level 2. So I need to try to I might need to think about pulling very quickly and try to like just play it safe for the most part until he's level 2. Because really, you can't do anything until he's 2. So this is unfortunate. This is where, if we look at your positioning, so you actually did see it through the Fog of War a little bit. But I wouldn't recommend chasing through these trees right now in the early game by yourself because they're both melee. You are a ranged hero, but 400 is admittedly pretty much the lowest attack range you could possibly have as a ranged hero. And then 285 move speed isn't too bad, but it's still a bit slow. So the only time this guy really gets to auto attack you is when you close the distance for him by walking close to these like trees where you don't see him until you turn a corner and then he's there and he hits you. That is just giving him the ability to freely attack you. And because he's melee and fairly, I hate that I can't select him from that perspective. Because he's melee and fairly tanky, and because he has Anchor Smash, he kind of outtrades you, I would say. If you had Ether Shock, it might be a different story. But because you went Shackles first, trying to combine with this Ursa, which I think was the right choice. It just, I think he took the wrong skill. But because of that, you can't really effectively trade. Now here at this point, I would walk over here to try to slow down some of these creeps, at least. Well, at this point, it's kind of late. Like, there's like no way to do it now. So instead of walking over here, I would recommend you stand down here. Especially if your carry goes to solo to block the lane and you know there are 2 heroes. I would be a little careful of coming out here, especially when you're a slow hero like 285, because these guys aren't likely to kill you level 1, but they can still do a good amount of damage while you slowly run back to base. And you kind of saw Tidehunter do that. Like, you did lose a decent chunk of your health. Whereas standing over here is quite safe. If they chase you, you can run through the trees this way or just cut directly that way. And it lets you see the creeps. And then you would also have an easier time blocking the creeps here so that this doesn't happen. Now, of all the lanes where this could happen and it wouldn't be a bad thing, it might be a Shadow Shaman Ursa lane. Right now, this range creep's attacking you, by the way. You need to de-aggro by attack clicking one of your creeps. 1, you're just taking free damage. Does like 10 every time, and he's hit you. Let's see how many times he's hit you. So I think walking up this way is a little awkward because now the creeps have hit you, and now this guy's hitting you. I forgot to count, but like I can see he's hitting you. That's like 5 times. Another 4 times. So even though he doesn't do too much each time, like that did chip away a good amount of your health, I would say. That's probably like 100 health. So it's really important to de-aggro yourself anytime you see a creep attacking you by using an attack command on your own creeps. But also, because it's the ranged creep, that does the most damage to your creeps. Like, the melee creeps do not do that much damage to each other. A lot of the damage comes from the ranged creep hitting the enemy's melee creeps. So if the ranged creep is attacking you, it is not attacking your creeps, which is going to make this wave like very healthy, and that's going to result in your lane pushing. Now, of all the people that could do that and get away with it, your lane would be one of them, like I was saying. Because you're such a deadly lane, usually. Because he has Earth Shock, you're not. It's just very unfortunate. But of all the lanes I could see this working in, it's this kind of lane where you quickly get level 2 and then you kill at least one of them, maybe both of them. It's probably impractical to think you could kill both of them. But killing at least one of them, like the offlaner, so that the wave then pushes under their tower and they take a lot of damage, that would be nice. But that's really hard to coordinate in pubs, so I would just err on the side of trying to keep it here. Right now, I think you should go look to pull. Well, first, what you're doing right here is an example of what I was saying, where, like, 400 range, usually you should be able to attack this guy from, like, over here, right? But you've walked in closer because you can't see him, so you're looking for him. But you're kind of low, so I don't think you should be looking for him. And also the fact that, again, he's melee, so you don't want to take these tight corners so that suddenly he pops up and he is within range and just hits you. I think if you want to go over here, you have to stand like this way and walk over here so that you, like, if you stood here, I think you would see him, and then you would know, oh, I'm not turning that corner. Like, that's way too sharp. Like, that would put me way too close to him. Whereas walking this way, you don't see him until you're, like, right here, and it's too late to back away. Anyways, so I was saying, I think you should go to pull right now. So imagine, how come we can't see the creeps? There we go. Imagine you could pull this camp and do, let's say, a half pull. So you pull the range creep and the melee creep. If you think about it in terms of denies, let's look at last hits. He has no denies yet. But if you were to get 2 creeps killed by this camp, which this camp could kill the melee and range creep, that would be the equivalent of, say, 4 denies in the lane. And it's very unlikely, it's very difficult, even at a high level, to get 4 denies in the lane. But denying 2 creeps to this camp is quite possible, especially when they don't necessarily see you going for it. And because Ursa is pretty strong against these two, like, I don't think he should die on his own. I think he's okay to be left alone, especially because there's so many creeps here. And if we look at what you're doing, you're not doing that much right now. So it's not like you're needed in the lane at this moment. I think this is a great time to go pull. Another choice is to just auto-attack these creeps, try to get some denies, or to slow the push of the lane. I like this idea a lot, actually, where you saw, I'm going to guess this is your thought process. You saw the range creep dying, and you saw that you had several creeps. So you decided, okay, we'll go for a kill on this Bloodseeker. It is unfortunate that he got his silent off first. So then you were only able to shackle for a little bit. I still think this was the right idea, and I'm very happy with that. If this guy had Fury Swipes, I think this is a kill. And even more so if he had an Orb of Venom, then I think he finishes this kill off on his own. And even if you die here, which we are going to see you die, I brushed over this, I think that would be worth it. You trading your life for this Bloodseeker. So trying this is pretty much your best option if you were to choose to stay in lane like you did. So I am glad you chose this. I do ultimately think pulling might have been a little better, especially because Ursa took Earth Shock instead of Fury Swipes. So because he did that, he just doesn't have the damage to kill either of these guys, really, until you hit level 2. And that's why I like the idea of pulling, so that Ursa gets solo XP to hit level 2. You get a little bit of XP from this camp, but you also deny a bit of XP from these guys. Now here, what I think you should do here to survive is to turn down here. Once you turn the corner, you pop your salve. I'm on you. There we go. I think you should pop your salve as soon as you turn the corner. And, well, let's just see. So you choose to turn up, which is the same idea. I think if you used a salve right here when Tidehunter has lost vision of you, let's see, it heals 40 HP per second. So I would say this is about 3 to 4 seconds until he hits you and cancels it. So I think that would be about, like, you know, like 200 health or so restored to you. Maybe a little less. And then that would give you enough health to just walk away. Whereas you use it here, so it gets canceled very quickly. You still almost get out. If that auto attack hadn't killed you, I think you would have survived by just walking this way, because I think this guy's about to get body blocked by creeps. Alternatively, you could also, you turn this corner. I think you could tango this tree right away to start regenning your health, because 7 isn't a bunch. But let's say you tango that, you would be healing a little bit, probably about 30 health. You get hit here. You pop this salve. 42. And let's say you healed up like 30 more health from that tango. 55 damage. I think you would... Yeah, he like just killed you. So I think if you had tangoed while you were running away as well, then you might have regened enough to survive that auto attack and then get away. Not a huge deal for you, honestly, in the end of all things. It is a shame you used the salve and died. But I like the attempt to survive. I think you just need to remember to use it a bit sooner. As soon as you break vision, generally, when you're running through these trees, as soon as you break vision of people, you use the salve, especially against melee heroes, because they can't auto-attack you, and they... Well, he does have a spell to hit you, even if he can't see you, but it was on cooldown because he used it here. So as soon as you break vision, you use the salve, and he can't auto-attack you until he finally gets vision of you. The problem with going up is that this kind of loops around like this, like you saw, and it got you killed. Whereas going down, you could walk in a path that's more straight, and that he never gets the chance to like cut you off the way he did here. Oh, I want to go back to your perspective. You keep an eye on the lane to see what's happening. I don't mind that. See what you're gonna buy. Another salve. I don't mind this second salve. It is very useful against like Bloodseeker because you don't want to get low. I do feel like it should be possible for you to not be taking too much damage. Because you're a ranged hero versus 2 melee, I feel like if you keep your distance a little better, just getting another set of tangos would be okay, so that at most they could only chip away at you like occasionally, and I think tangos would cover that. You wouldn't necessarily need a healing salve. But I also think whether you buy a healing salve or tango, you have 69 gold here. If you wait a second more, and even I think you'll get it before this channel is over, I think buying a mango here would be really nice. For the same reasons we talked about earlier, where it's just a really expensive spell. So having a mango would be very nice to heal you up. Or not heal you up, but give you the mana you need to cast all your spells. So this guy now has level 2, which means it is possible to be aggressive. Although he is a little low. Oh, you used your salve on him? I like that. I think that was a good use of the salve. If that was your plan when you bought the salve, I think that was good. Walking over here is a little awkward. I think you were looking to get this Bloodseeker. But as soon as he backs off, I think you also have to back off. Because, well, for exactly what we're seeing here, where he can run in here, and now you're kind of awkwardly cut off, especially with this big creep wave here. Something you can do here. This is kind of high-level stuff, because learning the pathways of these trees is very... It's kind of... It's like a minimal thing, but that high-level players do... Like, they know this path very well. But you can cut this tree right here with your tango to start healing up and to also get out. Right now, he's kind of body blocking you, so you're, like, trying to walk around him. But you could cut this tree for the most direct path out of here, and you would heal. I wouldn't bother, like, don't waste too much time, like, looking and studying these trees, because there's more important things to focus on the high-level terms of the game. But yeah. The game was paused for a bit, so I'll just cut all that out. So yeah, you did end up taking, like, about half your health from being awkwardly stuck up here. See these range creeps hitting you again? Same deal. You want to get rid of them as soon as you can. I like this idea. Unfortunately, Ursa doesn't really go on it. Nothing you can do about that. But I did like that position. I might consider getting Hex level 2. It's a tough call. But Ursa is... Like, he'll put out all the damage you need. Usually. If I was Ursa with a Shadow Shaman, I would have taken Overpower and Fury Swipes, I think. And then all you would need to do is provide the crowd control. Because this is 4 seconds of stun between the two of these spells. So if this guy Fury Swipes, like if this guy auto-attacks someone with Orb of Venom, for example, for like 2 hits, and now they decide, oh, I need to back off now. And then you Hex him, and he just runs up, hits him, overpowers, then you Shackle, hits him like 4 times. That's like 8 Fury Swipe stacks, which is quite a lot of damage. And then especially when you're like level 2 and he starts to hit level 3 and he's got 2 points in Fury Swipes, like even more so, he will be all the damage you need and you just need to provide crowd control. Now, like you were saying, you were having a bit of trouble coordinating between the two of you. So I don't mind if you get this Ether Shock, really. But maybe that's something you can consider. When your carry has enough damage, you can often just take Hex. Now, actually, that might have gotten you the kill here. That extra damage. So maybe it was fine. It worked out. He gets the kill. Cool. So I like that. Well, I guess I wouldn't expect carry players to know it. The carry could have actually finished the pull here, where I think the carry should have... This is very unfortunate because they're just passive. He just needed to walk this way a little bit, and that would have aggroed these creeps, and that could have been the pull for you guys. Which would have been overall very good. You're quite low now. I wouldn't mind if you ran back home, because you did just get a kill, and Ursa should be fine. Like, the lane is under the tower, so it is going to push, but I think you have enough time to run home while he does all that. And it looks like you are doing that. Let's see, buy a stick. Stick is pretty good against these two heroes. Looking around. Find a tango as well. I think that's good. It's very important to stay full health. Or you don't have to be like totally full health, but the way Thirst works is that if anyone in your game, anyone on your team is low, it makes your lane a lot harder. And you can't really control your teammates, but having a tango for yourself is very nice. I'm not sure how you knew this ward was here, honestly. I don't know if I missed something. Great to get the D ward. If you were just blind checking, also great. I'm not fully sure what made you check this, though. I'll be honest. Perhaps I'm missing something? What are you going to do with this ward? I think this is alright. I think it could be a little further out. Because, again, think about what you're looking for. You're looking for the Spirit Breaker, really. So putting it a little... Well, I guess this kind of sees the same thing in the end. The reason I like it up here is because it'll let you see this area, too. So it'll let you see the rune at 5 minutes to see if anyone's going for that. And Spirit Breaker tends to play in this back area. Like, when he comes charging in, he might, like, run down this way and then charge the lane. He likes to do these kind of weird things. So a ward like this, like, it will spot him coming down lane. But I think, like, moving it up just a little bit will do that same, like, spot him in lane, but also give you a little bit more vision this way to see him, like, run this way through the river to go charge mid or something like that. Back to you. Trying to do a pull. I'm not sure if you're trying to get the full wave or not. I'm kind of happy you just got the range creep, actually. I think that works well for you. Because if you had pulled the whole wave... Well, actually, it might have been okay to pull the whole wave. Because the whole wave would now be getting here, and it would start pushing back. And it could be a good time to fight with that. But that would be really hard to plan around. So I think just doing the half pull in general. This is also the time for runes. So that would have been a good time to go for it. But it is a bit hard. I think that might have been a chance to kill him. It's hard when I'm always at like 2x speed. So like this is where you have Hex. I think you could Hex him and then run out. Because that's the benefit of Hex against Bloodseeker when he does this Bloodright. Bloodright's going to cancel your shackles. So you would Hex him and then run straight out. Then if you do get silenced, the silence isn't too long at level 1. 3 seconds, it's a pain. But I think with the Hex duration, like while he's Hexed and you're just running out, he might be slowed enough where you can keep chasing him. The silence ends, and then you shackle him. But of course, the Ursa also has to follow you for that to work. Because we saw Tidehunter kind of leave for the runes, and since we didn't get the runes, that's what I'm looking at. I'm trying to look at, okay, maybe we can be aggressive while Tidehunter was gone. And you're going to see him now. Here. So here's where... I think this is where... This is might be the last thing we talk about. when you're talking about feeling awkward about your movement in lane, I think this is one of those examples where walking this way puts you closer to Bloodseeker. It traps you between these two, really, and also brings you within range of all these creeps. And there's no real way to get out of Blood right here because you're such a slow hero. Whereas if you had run this way, Tidehunter's still behind you, but now Bloodseeker will have to run this way to get you. So you're not like trapped in between them like this. And then you would just cut this tree with one of your tangos to run under tower and be safe. Or even if you just keep running this way, I think that would have also kept you alive. But I do think you should cut this tree so you can play on both sides of this. Yeah, they're going to get a kill for you for there. So this is a great example of how pathing and knowing which way to run on the game, it seems so minor, right? It's a very minor decision of, do I run this way or run this way? It's literally like 300 distance positioning, like being 300 units this way versus this way. But 300 units this way would have kept you alive, I think, by running this way to cut this tree and then walk in. So this kind of stuff is a lot harder to notice. In this case, it was a little easier to see because we saw how it got trapped in between two heroes and how this way was away from them. But that kind of like small positioning mistake can also happen later in the game, and it's very hard to notice that. So if you had the innate feeling that like, oh, my positioning and my movement wasn't the best in the game, I think that's really good because this kind of stuff is hard to recognize sometimes. Let's see, 6 minutes, where are we at? 30 minutes on this replay. That's kind of all I feel like we need to talk about right now. I think, to sum it up, I think pulling this would have been good. You didn't do too many pulls this game, but Ursa will be very safe on his own. These two can't really kill him. And because he didn't take Earthshock right away, or because he didn't take Fury Swipes right away, and he took Earthshock, it made actually fighting very difficult. So usually I would have said, yeah, play the lane. You're a very strong lane. Look for kills. But you can't do that without Fury Swipes. And he actually even leveled... Oh, man. He leveled Earthshock twice. So now you... Oh, man, this is so hard. It's so hard to play aggressive if he doesn't have Fury Swipes. And since we can't control our teammates, and like once you can identify like he does not have the right skills to play aggressively, it kind of demotes your lane from a strong lane to just like this average lane versus an equally average lane at this point. I think technically they're a little weaker maybe, but they're very good against melee heroes, which Ursa is, and you are like a very short ranged hero. So I think once you identify like we're not as strong as we're supposed to be because this guy took the wrong spell, then I would start just focusing a bit more on pulls. You are a hero. Shadow Shaman is a hero that really likes to have levels because Mass Serpent Ward is a really good spell. Your talents are really good. So getting that XP from doing a lot of pulls would be very nice. And it would help to build an advantage so that even if this guy has the wrong spells, maybe you can still get a kill by just being a higher level, being a bit stronger than these guys. But what should have been a strong lane, I think, versus these two has ended up being pretty close to even, really. They're level 4 versus level 4. You're level 3, though. So they might be winning this lane a bit, and I think it's a lane you should have won. So I think that starts with creeps walking under tower, which kind of ruined equilibrium. But even then, that was still manageable if you had done a few more pulls, I think. And then in terms of the plays you made, I liked the attempt to kill Bloodseeker. That was very close to working out too. And I think it would have worked out if he had taken Fury Swipes. And there's only so much you can do, right? So I wouldn't hold yourself super accountable for this lane. Like, I would just focus on the small mistakes you made. Like, you should have run down and then salved as soon as you break sight. So that would have kept you alive. Or like this mistake here, running this way instead of this way. Like, those are individual things you can fix. This guy not taking Fury Swipes is something you can't fix. So just focus on those things, like these movement things for this game, or like remembering to pull a bit more often, maybe Remember to check the bounty rune when it's getting closer to 5. And not worry too much about losing this lane overall, because I think if this guy doesn't level Fury Swipes, like, you can't really win this lane unless they make mistakes. So yeah, I think that's it. I hope that was helpful. Yeah. Well, you're going to return to pulling. In all fairness, I haven't made the video on pulling yet, I realize. So maybe you didn't realize, like, oh, I should be pulling a lot. So actually, I take all that back. You wouldn't necessarily have known to do any of that because I haven't made that video yet. But that's coming out next. Look forward to it, and I hope it'll help you understand, like, why that would have been a good thing to do, instead of playing too aggressively when you can't. So yeah, look forward to the next video. I hope that will help clear up some of this stuff. Thank you for watching. Be nice to animals. Be safe. Have a great day, everyone.